Travelling. Stockholm. My first time visiting Stockholm was 16 years ago. It wasn't the only time during that year either, as I went a fair few times. In fact, I really wouldn't mind going back again. It's been ages since I talked about Sweden, and remembering journey is making me feel like going back. I spent one whole year there, one of the best years of my life too, in which I visited Stockholm twice, Gothenburg, Malmö, and also a town on the Norwegian coast. I couldn't have imagined just how nice Stockholm would be as a city. It's located on Sweden's east coast, in southern half, in the middle of a huge lake, one of the many, many lakes in Sweden. The central parts of the city are formed by 14 islands, all connected by bridges. This really gives the impression that the city's on the water, so to say. Gamla Stam's the nicest part of the city. It's the old part, which actually dates as far back as the 13th century. You can find the lovely big square here that you might have seen before, with many little cobbled alleys sprouting off it. The colours of the houses and the architecture is typically Swedish, and the restaurants are as cool as they are expensive. But in general, everything's expensive in Sweden, unless you're a student, that is. Hotels are so expensive that the most popular accommodation in Stockholm is to sleep in a boat hotel in the middle of the Lake Malare. They're permanently docked in the lake. I think there were 2 boats. Well, really they're ships, they're massive. The Maladrottningen has a length of 240 feet and width of 35, weighing a whopping 1.5 ton, complete with sauna, 61 cabins and 1 restaurant. These boat hotels usually have fairly reasonable prices, occasionally with a shared bathroom, although en-suites and lake views are also available. It's quite funny. I'd never slept on a boat prior to that, and it were a great experience, and with the old town nearby, in a perfect location. It can also be quite a good idea, despite the biting chill, to take a trip by boat around Stockholm Bay. The scenery is spectacular, particularly in winter, with a lot of the lake frozen over and a fluffy blanket of pristine white clouds above. I promise I'll stop talking about boats, ships and vessels soon, but not just yet. The most visited and most famous museum in Scandinavia is naturally a ship, the Vasa Museum. Vasa's the world's only salvaged, fully intact 17th century ship. Well, almost fully intact. It was discovered after 330 years on the seabed. Gustavus Adolphus ordered the construction, and with the finishing touches being added, he decided it would be better to add a few more war cannons. The Vasa would become the most powerfully armed vessel in the world. Unluckily though, on her maiden voyage, she only sailed 1,300 metres before being shook by a wind slightly stronger than a breeze. And in only a matter of minutes, this great warship, symbol of the Swedish Empire, capsized and sank to the seabed at a depth of 32 metres. My first visit was in October, and the wind was so strong, almost Gale Force, that we couldn't go on any walking tours or even go out in the city after 7 in the evening. We just had dinner in the only place that fitted into the student price range. I'm on about McDonald's. So unfortunately, I simply can't recommend any nice restaurants in Stockholm. This is another reason why I must go back. I did try Swedish food though, when a Swedish friend invited me to come over for dinner one evening. A family prepared proper Swedish food, which were a little bit daunting, especially after they told me they'd cooked reindeer. Allegedly, it's very healthy, low in fat, high in omega-3 and 6, and well, it were nice. They fried it in some oil, put some salt and pepper on it, and then added some beer, which they said makes it tender. It was served with some mashed potatoes, and it went down very well. The Swedes eat a lot of berries. The forests and meadows are abundant with Swedish blueberries, lingonberries, which are often made into jam and served with steaks, but And last but not least, the cloudberry. Occasionally served with vanilla ice cream, or it's sometimes found as a jam with a piece of fried camembert if you're lucky enough. You can also get some wild raspberries and wild strawberries. Yeah, like the Swedish film. I lived in Gothenburg for most of my time in Sweden, and if you head north, you can experience something not too common in Sweden: fjords. The landscapes you can find in Sweden are breathtaking. A midnight sun, evergreen forests that stretch for miles, isolated coastlines, and the fjords are another must-see. While Sweden's not as well known for its fjords as neighbouring Norway, it's incredible to go in either winter or summer. In summer you'll see locals bathe in the waters. You can too if you're brave enough, and in winter you'll be amazed at the snow-capped surroundings. Here's where I tried the finest salmon I've ever tasted. The shrimps too were lovely. Gothenburg too is well worth spending a day or two. There's a young feel to it as many students spend time there. It's quite a fashionable and artistic city. The Avenyn Boulevard is lined with trees and perhaps more importantly bars and restaurants. It's the street in the middle of everything. Swedish people are quite polite, very handsome and pretty. Need I say more than Greta Garbo, Ingrid Bergman and Alexander Skarsgård? They are generally much more aware than us regarding the environment and taking care of it. Other nations could definitely do with taking some lessons from Sweden on that. Sweden's great if you're looking for something a little different.